Hello, and welcome to the Leadership Challenge. If you're watching this video, you probably just received your Leadership Practices Inventory, also known as your LPI. You might be wondering how to break it down. We're going to help you do that briefly, but please know when you're back in the Leadership Challenge workshop, we'll invest a little more time to discuss and to share other aspects related to the LPI. So if you haven't already, consider printing out your LPI, write on it, highlight things that you want to come back to. Take a moment and grab a pen. In fact, I'm going to want you to take note of something in just a minute. The goal with the LPI is understand it, explore it, become affirmed or awakened, and ultimately share it with others. Another goal is to ask for feedback related to practices, explore blind spots. Getting feedback is a gift from others where you may begin to aim your talents in discovering areas for continual development. That development can happen through a leadership development action plan. Ultimately, you want to share time with others as well, and we'll talk about that towards the end. Speaking of others, if you had 10 to 20 respondents, congratulations, you're doing really well. If, however, you did have 10 to 20 respondents, you need to expect an outlier or two. It's okay to see consistent ratings in some of the areas and then a one-off here and there. It really is okay. Remember, we're all human beings and none of us are perfect. Our goal is to be exemplary and to provide exemplary leadership the majority of the time. If, however, you didn't have very many respondents, you still have time to reach out to them. It's not too late. You can personally ask folks who have seen you on boards and in other capacities to go ahead and chime in. So understanding the leadership practices inventory really begins by understanding the rating scale. The first thing to note is how frequently someone is seeing the behaviors is based on a 1 to 10 point scale. So next, notice that if a behavior was just not evident or visible to the respondent, they were instructed to give a 1, 2, or 3. A response of a 1, 2, or 3 doesn't mean you weren't doing a particular behavior. It only means it wasn't visible to the observer. So you might want to jot this down. The 5 practices data summary. Go to page 2 if you haven't already. There's a lot of information on this page. The good news is that your page is customized to you, your results at this very moment in time. Consider it like a snapshot in time, your baseline or beginning, to really striving hard to intentionally incorporate the leadership practices into your everyday life. So let's take a minute to break it down and have a better look. First, notice at the top, there's an arrow. M is for manager, D is direct report, C is coworker, O is other, and AVG is the average of all observer respondents. So we'll start with self. First, look at how you rated yourself and compare that to the average of all observer respondents, which doesn't include your self-rating. What stands out to you? Where might there be blind spots or challenges? Where is there alignment? Again, these ratings are related to the frequency of observed behaviors. Take notes on your thoughts. Next, let's look over it to your manager. Which behavior is your manager seeing most frequently? What is your relationship with your manager? Is your manager new? Or perhaps are you new to the manager? Are the two of you seeing things eye to eye? Are there areas for improvement? And where can you celebrate? How about your direct reports? Which behaviors are they seeing most frequently? Are there discrepancies between direct reports? Are there any new or challenging relationships? Where would you like to make improvements over the next 30 days and over the long term? What is the data telling you about these leadership behaviors? Again, take some notes on your preliminary thoughts so you can ultimately share them with your Leadership Challenge LPI coach in order to further develop your leadership development action plan. Oh, great. So we're going to move on. So you have self and average, and then we're going to go to your colleagues and others. What are your colleagues and other observers seeing? Are their ratings consistent with yours, or do they differ? If they differ, how much do they differ? Why do you think this might be the case? And what intentional actions can you take in the short and long term to make things different? Write this down. In fact, go ahead and consider taking a moment to pause this recording in order to spend a little more time writing your thoughts down. Come back. On page 3 of the LPI, you'll find the 5 practices bar graphs. This is a representation of the data recorded on the 5 practices summary page that shows the total responses of self and the average for each different category of observer. This average includes your manager. The totals can range from 6 to 60, which again is based on a response score of 1 to 10. Don't forget, your observers were instructed to rate you a 1, 2, or 3 if they just didn't see these behaviors. We'd like to encourage you by letting you know we're here to help you. You are not alone in this journey. The bar graphs provide a great visual to easily see where things can potentially improve with deliberate action and also to see clear consistencies in alignment. Let's celebrate those and break it down a little bit better. I like to break it down, taking it one by one. So if you want to, you're more than welcome to grab a sheet of paper and just look at each response score and reflect on that one at a time. Let's walk through where you rated yourself and where others rated you on each practice. Remember, each practice contains 6 behaviors. Therefore, there are 30 leadership behaviors to consider overall. So with regards to model the way, take a look at respondents that just aren't seeing your least frequent behaviors. Look at the arrows up above and where I've placed the bar. These blind spots may be small, and in other cases, there might be large gaps in knowledge or thinking. Consider asking yourself why there might be differing opinions here of where you feel you are and where others may be seeing specific behaviors. Can we be more intentional with these behaviors overall? Moving on to inspired to shared vision, take a look at the arrows above on where you've rated yourself and where others have rated you. Again, looking at potential gaps and potential actions and putting deliberate thought in challenge the process where the arrows are, where you rated yourself and where others have rated you. And again, looking at the gaps between each category of observer. And the same is true with enable others to act, where you rated yourself and others may see you as well, but then there may be inconsistencies with other groups such as direct reports and coworkers. Encourage the heart, same thing. And with this one, and encourage the heart, you've rated yourself pretty low and others rated you fairly high. So again, it's looking at the inconsistencies on how we can address those gaps so that we don't have blind spots and we're all seeing eye to eye. Again, they're more than welcome to take a minute to jot things down, to turn off the recording, and to reflect. Welcome to page 5, your leadership behavior ranking page. This includes all 30 behaviors on the LPI. I'm going to start at the top. Congratulations, these are behaviors your observers are seeing most frequently. Again, look at the behavior, scan over to the right, look at the practice that the behavior falls under, look a little further right to view your self-ratings and compare it to your average observers. Don't forget to look at where there might be gaps or discrepancies, potential opportunities for feedback, conversation, intentional action, and engagement. Oh, so if you look at the arrow, a gap of plus or minus more than 1.5 merits further attention. We'll talk about more about that in just a minute. Leadership behavior rankings in the middle. So these are behaviors that people aren't seeing as frequently as your most frequent, but it's not like they're never seeing them. So they're seeing them there. Are there any surprises for you? Any awakenings? How are you feeling about what you're seeing? Okay, so down at the bottom, these are behaviors that are considered your least frequent behaviors. They're, of course, behaviors people don't see very frequently at all. So what surprises are here? Are there any awakenings, and how are you feeling about what you're seeing? So my question is, if you were to take the LPI 6 months from now, what changes would you like to see? And how can you make those changes happen intentionally? Jot down some action items and also note that a gap with plus or minus of more than 1.5 merits further attention. So looking at the arrows, you see a gap of +8, -7, -6, +8 down towards the bottom. It's something to consider. Again, you're more than welcome to take a moment to pause this recording. A large portion of the feedback results for each practice are contained on pages 6 through 15. So make sure that you look at those. They're important. But I'm going to move, for sake of time, to open-ended questions. These are the qualitative data that are usually very rich. Um, Please note that we try not to determine who gave us what score and who said what, especially in the qualitative areas, but rather please try to look for trends in the data. It's important to look for anomalies that may indicate something about the relationship or a lack of observation opportunity. So while you're reviewing the open-ended questions, consider circling or highlighting key phrases or words that really resonate with you. Underline areas you might want to take positive action. Remember, feedback is a gift, and the gift is typically either awakening or affirming. The question is, what would you like to do with this feedback? It's 100% your choice. Consider quarterly feedback. I've spoken with some of the masters of the Leadership Challenge, and they suggest at a minimum to discuss three things: behaviors and positive things that you're doing to positively impact performance, helping other people succeed. Or number two, negative things, talking about things that really drag a person down or the team down, things that should be changed. And number three, asking what recognizable changes that have been seen in the past quarter related to the behaviors. This question may help you and others see more clearly so that next time you take the LPI, the ratings will be what you expect. Remember, we're all human beings and none of us are perfect. The goal is to be as exemplary as possible, to provide exemplary leadership the majority of the time. Finally, I'll end by reminding you, if you didn't have many respondents, go ahead and reach out to them. It's not too late. Feedback is a gift. We're here for you, and we look forward to seeing you at the Leadership Challenge.